The first time I saw the Inquisition, I thought the Emperor himself had come to judge me. Smoke still hung over the hive spires of Gathis Prime, a choking cloud of burnt oil and human ash. The manufactorum had fallen silent, not because of rest, but because everyone in it was dead. Cultists, workers, enforcers, innocents, all reduced to blackened shapes by the Arbit's cleansing fire. I was the only one left. I don't know how. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was him. All I remember is waking up beneath the shattered conveyor belts, surrounded by corpses twisted in their final screams. The air stank of promethium and melted flesh. My ears rang. My hands trembled. But even through the pain, I could still hear the whispers, soft, distant, like the hum of machinery that was no longer there, voices calling my name through the smoke. Elier! I knew better than to answer. When the black-garbed figures arrived, I thought they were death come to finish the job. They moved like shadows and not soldiers, not enforcers, but something else entirely. Their armor bore no insignia, only a single, burning sigil, the stylized eye of the Inquisition. One of them stepped forward, a tall woman, half her face made of pale augmetic metal that caught the dim light like cold glass. Her right eye was human, gray, sharp, merciless. Her left eye glowed faint red, scanning me like a target. "Innocent?" she asked. My mouth opened, but no sound came. She tilted her head as if studying an insect. Then she raised a hand. A servo skull floated close, its crimson lens fixing on me. "The warp has touched this one," it said, in a voice that was not human. I froze. The woman's expression didn't change. She simply crouched beside me and said, "You hear them, don't you?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. My body shook as the whispers grew louder, echoing inside my skull. I wanted to scream, to run, to die, but her gaze held me still. "You hear the warp," she continued softly, "and yet it has not consumed you. That is rare." Then she stood up, her mechanical hand reaching out. "You will serve." That was it. No ceremony, no promise, no choice. Just a command. Her name was Inquisitor Aelia Dravane, Ordo Hereticus, witch hunter, purifier of the unclean. And from that day my life no longer belonged to me. They took me aboard her ship, the Vigilant Shadow, a black iron cathedral drifting through the void. Even from inside I could feel it humming with restrained fury like a caged beast. Every corridor reeked of incense and machine oil. The walls were lined with purity seals, their parchment edges stained with wax and blood. They put me through tests, psychological, physical, spiritual. They probed my mind for taint. They bled me, burned symbols into my flesh, recited the Emperor's creed over my screaming body. If I had been weak, I would have died, but I didn't. When it was over, Dravane came to see me. I was on my knees, shivering, half-conscious. She watched me for a long moment before saying, "You will learn to listen to the whispers. You will learn to use what others fear. But you will never forget you are a servant. You are not the Emperor's voice. You are his knife." And so my training began. Life aboard an Inquisitor's vessel is not life at all. It is a constant test. You sleep when you're told. You eat what's given. You learn to shoot, to interrogate, to detect heresy in the smallest breath. Every failure is punished not with words, but with pain. My tasks were menial. Cleaning blood from the interrogation chambers, carrying data slates, reciting prayers for hours on end. But I watched. I listened. The Inquisitor's retinue was a collection of monsters in human form. There was Karn, the assassin, a man from a death world, his skin crisscrossed with scars that looked like cracked glass. He never spoke unless ordered. His eyes were dead, not from cruelty but from long practice. There was Tech, a magos of the Adeptus Mechanicus, or what remained of one. Half his body was replaced with machinery that hissed and clicked as he moved. He never stopped muttering to the ship's spirit, feeding it prayers of binary code. And Sister Vion, the silent battle sister. She wore her power armor even when she slept. She never removed her helmet in front of anyone. The others said she took a vow of silence after purging her own convent. These were Dravane's servants, and now I was one of them. Our first mission came 3 months later. The target was a mining world called Varnastanaim, an imperial planet plagued by whispers of corruption within the governor's court. We arrived under the guise of trade inspectors, but I quickly learned the truth. Dravane already knew the governor was guilty. She just wanted to see how deep the rot went. I watched as she interrogated nobles, priests, soldiers, one by one. No one dared lie. They couldn't. She could feel deceit like a change in air pressure. When she finally summoned the governor, he came trembling, draped in gold and fear. She didn't even ask questions. She simply looked at him and said, "You've spoken to the Xenos, haven't you?" He broke within seconds. He told us of a secret envoy, a bargain for alien weapons, promises of power. And when he finished, Dravain said only 2 words. "Purge everything." That night the skies of Varney 9 burned. The city was wiped from existence by orbital bombardment. Millions died, and I watched it all from the command deck. The reflection of the firestorms glowing in Dravain's cybernetic eye. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to ask her why, but she turned to me and said quietly, "Compassion is a luxury heresy affords us before it kills us." I understood then, and I hated myself for it. Because part of me agreed. After that, I stopped thinking of myself as a victim. I became a tool, sharpened, shaped, unfeeling. When I slept, I dreamed of fire and the Emperor's gaze. When I woke, I cleaned blood off the floor. My hands stopped shaking. My voice stopped trembling. I learned to obey without question. But deep inside, I still heard them, the whispers. The same ones from Gathis Prime. Softer now, patient, waiting. Sometimes, when I was alone, they would murmur words I couldn't understand. Sometimes they spoke my name. And sometimes, when I looked into Dravain's augmetic eye, I swore I could hear them inside her too. That's when I began to understand the truth. The Inquisition doesn't only fight monsters. Sometimes, it becomes one. The deeper you serve the Inquisition, the more you forget what mercy feels like. Months turned into years aboard the Vigilant Shadow. Every mission blurred into the next. Whispers of corruption, purges, interrogations, executions. We burned worlds so the Imperium might live another day. We killed 1,000 innocents to save a single soul from heresy. That's what it means to serve. To sacrifice everything, even your own humanity, for a cause too vast to question. And yet sometimes, the cause stares back. We were deployed to Juno Delta, a desolate hive world shrouded in acid fog. Reports spoke of rogue psychers, children born with strange abilities, vanishing from the lower habs. The locals blamed it on mutation. The Arbites couldn't explain it, so Dravain took us there to find the source. The lower levels smelled of rust, filth, and fear. Hollow posters of the Emperor's face peeled off walls blackened by exhaust fumes. Everywhere we went, people bowed, trembling. Not out of respect, but because they knew who we were. To most, the Inquisition is a myth. To those who have seen it, it's a nightmare. We set up in the abandoned precinct fortress. I handled the Vox codes and kept the Auspex feeds running. Sister Vion patrolled the perimeter, her armor humming with restrained fury. Karn disappeared into the alleys, hunting the missing. For 3 days, nothing. Then we found the first one. A boy, maybe 10 years old, crouched beside a pile of corpses. His eyes glowed faint gold. The dead around him floated, twitching in the air as if dreaming. Dravain raised her pistol without hesitation. "Stop," I said before I could think. Her gaze sliced through me like a blade. "You dare? He's just a child. He's a conduit," she snapped. The warp does not care for age. But there was something in the boy's eyes, not madness, not corruption, fear. He whispered, "I can't stop it." And then the corpses dropped like stones. The silence that followed was suffocating. Dravain lowered her weapon slightly. "Elior, end it." I froze. "What?" "This is your test. You claim compassion. Prove your conviction. Kill him before he becomes something worse." My hands shook. I could feel the boy's terror, raw and human. My finger brushed the trigger. And then I heard it again. The whisper. Not from the boy. From inside me. "You are already worse." I fired. The bolt round tore through the boy's skull. He crumpled wordlessly. Dravain turned away, her tone as cold as a machine's breath. "You will learn. The Emperor protects those who obey." But I didn't feel protected. I felt hollow. We traced the Psyker outbreaks to a cult calling itself the Awakened Light. They claimed to free the Emperor's spirit trapped in mortal flesh. A blasphemy of the highest order. When we stormed their sanctum, the air was thick with incense and blood. Symbols of light carved into flesh, candles made from human fat. The cultists chanted as we entered, eyes burning with manic devotion. Karn moved first, silent, efficient, merciless. His blade flashed through throats before their voices could finish a single prayer. Sister Vion's bolter thundered, tearing apart anything that moved. Dravain waded into the center. her rosette blazing with the Emperor's authority. "You call upon his name," she said, "but he does not know you." The leader, a woman draped in rags, and raised her arms, screaming, "The Emperor lives through us! He burns within our veins." Then the floor cracked. Reality itself rippled. I saw shapes crawling through the air, things without form, eyes opening in places eyes should never be. The warp bled into the world like oil into water. Dravain didn't flinch. She drew a blade inscribed with silver wards and cut the woman's throat herself. The rift collapsed instantly. Silence followed, thick, terrifying. Dravain's voice broke it. "Cleanse everything." By dawn, nothing remained of the awakened light. No bodies. No buildings. Just ash carried by the acidic wind. Back on the ship, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the boy's face. I heard the cult's chant. I heard the whispers. I started avoiding the others. Even Dravain noticed. "Faith requires certainty," she told me one night. "Doubt is a luxury heretics cannot afford." I wanted to tell her that I wasn't doubting the Emperor. I was doubting us. But I stayed silent. To speak against the Inquisition is to invite death. Still, part of me began to see the pattern. Every mission, every purge, every execution, all in the name of purity. But purity is like smoke. You chase it and it disappears between your fingers. And what are you left with? Blood. Months later, on Desolatia 4, we uncovered a schola where students painted visions of the Emperor using their own blood. They said they were divinely inspired. Dravain didn't hesitate. "Demonic influence," and she declared. We burned the entire building. I led the purge myself this time. I didn't question. I didn't flinch. I gave the order and the flames roared. Watching the fire climb the walls, I realized something terrible. I didn't feel guilt anymore. I felt relief. Because with every heretic we burned, I convinced myself we were saving humanity. But in truth, I was just numbing myself, turning into what Dravain wanted me to be, a tool that never doubts. One night, as I cleaned my sidearm in silence, Tech, the Mechanicus savant, spoke without looking up. "You dream of the warp." I froze. "How do you know?" "I hear you whisper in your sleep," he said, cables twitching from his neck. "The machine spirit does not approve." "What do I say?" "Names," he replied. "Not ours. Something older." That terrified me more than any demon, because I realized, well, maybe the Inquisition hadn't saved me from corruption. Maybe it had taught me to live with it, and maybe that was the whole point. We walked the line between faith and damnation. One wrong thought, one act of mercy, one moment of doubt, and the warp takes you. But one thing Dravain always said echoes in my mind even now. The Inquisition does not seek the innocent. We seek those strong enough to bear guilt forever. I understood her then. To be a servant of the Inquisition is to stand in the fire and smile while it burns you, because if you flinch, even once, humanity falls. And I'd rather burn than watch that happen. By the 5th year of my service, I had stopped asking questions. Obedience had become instinct. Killing had become prayer. The Inquisition doesn't reward loyalty with peace. It rewards it with more duty. And when you serve long enough, you learn something dreadful. The enemy isn't always outside. Sometimes it's sitting across from you, wearing the same seal, whispering the same prayers. That lesson came on Castor Reach, a world where even faith had grown weary. We were sent to hunt a rogue inquisitor, Lord Baron Kadros, once Dravain's mentor, now declared excommunicate traitorous. The official record said he had turned from the Emperor's light. But records are just ink. The truth, Dravain said, lies in the blood of the guilty. We arrived under the cover of darkness, landing in the ruins of an ancient ecclesiarchal cathedral half swallowed by jungle. Lightning storms clawed the sky. The air was thick with the stench of rot and incense. Dravain gathered us in the nave, where statues of saints leaned like broken guardians. "Varen hides here," she said, her voice cutting through the thunder. "He has turned this holy ground into his fortress. Remember, he was trained as I was trained. He knows how we think. Do not hesitate." Karn grunted in acknowledgement. Sister Vion silently knelt in prayer. Tech murmured binaric blessings to the ship's machine spirit, and I just nodded. But inside, my stomach churned, because for the first time we weren't hunting cultists or mutants. We were hunting one of our own. The catacombs beneath the cathedral stretched for miles, corridors carved into stone and bone. As we descended, the air grew colder, heavier, almost alive. My auspex flickered with static. Whispers echoed again, faint, familiar. But this time they weren't in my head. They came from the walls themselves. Karn moved ahead, his blade drawn, his steps soundless. Vion covered our rear. Driven led the way, her rosette glowing like a crimson sun. When we reached the inner chamber, we found him. Lord Varon Kidros, tall, gaunt, draped in a black coat embroidered with the Inquisition's sigil. His hair was white now, his eyes sunken but bright with something dangerous, not madness but clarity. He didn't reach for a weapon. He just smiled. "So, Aelia, you brought your flock to judge me." Dravain's expression didn't flicker. "You consorted with heretics. You blasphemed the Emperor's name. You corrupted the Ordo's work. Confess, and you may yet die clean." Varon chuckled, a dry, weary sound. "Clean? You speak as if the Inquisition knows what that means." He took a slow step forward, spreading his hands. "Tell me, my old apprentice, how many worlds have you burned in his name? How many innocents did you sacrifice so your conscience could sleep?" Dravain's hand twitched near her holster. "Do not test me." But Varon kept talking, and his voice changed. It wasn't madness. It was conviction. The Inquisition doesn't protect mankind. It devours it. We are the disease pretending to be the cure. You know this, Aelia. You've seen it. Why else do you keep your little servant alive? He looked at me. "Straight into me." "You hear them, don't you, boy? The whispers? You think they come from the warp, but they don't. They come from us, from the countless screams we've silenced in his name." I felt my pulse hammer in my throat. My hand hovered over my pistol. Dravain stepped between us, voice like a blade. "You will not poison my servant with your blasphemy." Varon smiled sadly. "Then you've already lost. Because the Inquisition's greatest weapon has always been fear, and fear is the seed of heresy." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Dravain drew her bolt pistol and handed it to me. "Elior," she said softly. "End him." The world froze. I stared at the weapon, then at her, then at him. Varon didn't resist. He just looked tired. "Go on, boy. Kill another believer. Add me to your collection. Tell yourself you're saving humanity while you damn your own soul." My finger brushed the trigger. The chamber hummed, and in that moment, I understood something I had never dared admit. He wasn't entirely wrong. The Inquisition did feed on fear. It did demand blood for faith. It did turn the faithful into monsters so humanity could survive one more day. But I also understood Dravain's truth. The truth that had burned itself into me through every mission, every purge, every scream. Survival was the only purity left. I fired. The bolt round hit Varon in the chest. He staggered, smiling through the smoke. "Good," he whispered. "Now you understand." Then he fell. Dravain took back her weapon, holstered it, and said quietly, "That hesitation would have damned us all. Remember that, Elior. The Inquisition's purpose is not to be right. It is to ensure humanity endures." She turned and walked away. I stood there staring at Varon's body, his blood spreading like ink across the ancient stone. And I realized I had just killed the last man who dared tell me the truth. That night, as we ascended from the catacombs, the storm outside broke. Rain hammered the cathedral roof like gunfire. Lightning flashed across Dravain's augmetic eye, and for the briefest instant, I thought I saw something flicker behind it. Not light, not faith, something darker. We never spoke of Varon again, but I noticed changes in her after that mission. She prayed less, slept less. She'd stare into the void for hours, as if listening to something no one else could hear. Then one day she was gone. During a purge on Solstice Prime, she vanished into a warp anomaly mid-battle. No signal, no body, nothing. The Ordo declared her presumed dead. But the whispers didn't stop. In fact, they grew louder. Now, years later, I carry her rosette, her authority, her burden. The vigilant shadow is mine to command. People kneel when I enter a room. They call me Inquisitor Elior Dravain. They think I bring the Emperor's light, but I know better. To be a servant of the Inquisition is not to serve righteousness. It is to carry a torch through the dark, knowing it will eventually burn you too. We are not heroes. We are not saints. We are the blade pressed against humanity's throat, daring it to survive one more day. And sometimes when I'm alone in my chamber, I hear her voice again, soft, cold, certain. "You will learn to listen to the whispers." And I whisper back, "I do. Because now, I am the whisper." The shadows of the Imperium are vast, and this is just one story. If you enjoyed this journey into the darkness of the Inquisition, honor the Emperor by hitting that like button subscribing, and turning on the notification bell, so you never miss the next grim tale from the 41st millennium. Remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, but here, there's always more story to tell.